Hello, this is Dog Addict, the dog trainer for real life situation. Let's say you don't have a dog, but you really want the dog and you don't know where to start from. You don't know what to do. You don't have a checklist of things you need to do before you actually get this dog. Well, you don't have to worry so much about it, and I'm also going to try to help you in this video because today I want to talk about some of the things you need to consider before you actually get a dog. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because most people get a dog without actually knowing why they need a dog, without actually going through a checklist of things they are supposed to have and things they are supposed to do and put in place before they actually get these dogs. Most people don't know the responsibility that comes with having a dog. So that is how abuse starts in the first place. That is how we get a lot of dogs that get abused, and dogs that after 2-3 months, 5 months of having them, their owners start thinking of selling the dog because they never put into considerations what I'm about to talk about today. So number one thing you need to consider before you get a dog, which is very important, is care. Can I be able to care for this dog? Ask yourself that question. Will I be able to feed the dog? Will I be able to provide water? Will I be able to provide a good kennel and a place for this dog to stay? Will I be able to care for this dog if for any reason the dog falls sick? So you need to really put into consideration this particular factor. Will you be able to care for the dog? That is number one. The number two thing you need to also consider is, will I invest the time to actually raise this dog the right way? People that get dogs, they just get the dog because their friend or their colleague have a dog and they just feel they should own a dog too, without really considering the fact that they need to devote the time and responsibility to raise that dog right. So the second thing I'll talk about is your ability to raise the dog right. If you have no foundation or no knowledge about how you raise dog, how you can live with a dog, then you will have problem when you get this dog. Even though you can provide food for the dog, even though you can provide water, and you can be able to treat or care for this dog if for any reason the dog falls sick, if you don't actually know how to raise this dog the right way, then you're going to end up having a liability instead of the pet you wanted. Okay, instead of having a companion, you end up having a liability and creating problems for yourself because the dogs start becoming disobedient, start destroying properties, and in worst case they become aggressive. So if you have no foundation of dog training or dog raising, puppy raising, how to actually take care of a dog, how to actually live with a dog and raise the dog the right way, then you are going to go into a lot of problems. Okay, you're going to find yourself in a messed up situation where you run out of control and you won't be able to actually manage that puppy or that dog anymore. So that is number two thing you need to consider, your ability to take care of the dog. The third thing you should consider, which most people tend to consider first, is they consider the breed. So the third thing you need to consider is the breed. Most people make the mistake to look at this as the first thing they need to consider. They just start looking for a particular breed of dog without actually going through the first two things I just said, which is number one, your ability to care for the dog, and number two, your ability to raise the dog right. So number three is choosing the breed. So now when you have made sure you can do the two things I talked about earlier, then you consider the breed. The breed consideration, now this is my own opinion and my advice when it comes to choosing breed of dog. When you have known the purpose for why you want that dog, okay, then you begin to consider the breed of the dog, because there are different breeds of dog, and some of these breed of dogs were created for a particular purpose. Okay, some excel well in one particular area and some excel well in another area. So they were bred for some specific reasons. We have the toy breed, we have the herding breed, we have dogs that were bred for so many purposes. We have the walking dogs, So depending on what you want to do with the dog, or how the dog is going to be spending his or her life in your home or in your company, farm or whatever, then you will be able to know the breed of dog you want. The second thing when it comes to choosing the breed of the dog, which I always like to advise my clients and people who seek advice from me, who consult me on a daily basis when it comes to choosing dogs, is you need to consider your lifestyle. I did a video about this some time ago. You need to consider your lifestyle. How do I live my life on a daily basis? How is my lifestyle? So if you know your lifestyle, are you an active person? Are you someone who enjoy being indoors? So these are some of the things you need to look into, because if you match your personality with the wrong temperament, now I'm talking about the wrong breed, when you match your personality with the wrong breed, you end up having problems in your home. Let's say, for instance, someone that is very, very quiet, someone that don't like being very active, someone that is not the physical outdoor kind of person, and you get a dog like a Malinois, for instance, a Belgian Malinois, you're going to have a lot of problem, because this is a dog that wants to walk. This is a dog that is very active, always looking for activities to do. And because of your personality of not being an active person and someone who doesn't work out on a daily basis, it's going to affect the dog, and you're going to end up with a dog that becomes very destructive, because the dog start looking for activities to do and you can't provide these things for the dog. So these are some of the things we need to consider also when we're choosing the breed. So I'm still talking about choosing the breed. So all these things I said, they are still under number 3, choosing the breed, matching the right breed for yourself. What is your purpose for having the dog? And again, look at your personality and match it with the temperament of the dog. So there must be a balance there. Now the fourth thing I believe you should consider is space and your environment. So your environment will go a long way to determining which breed you get. Okay, there are people who live in a small apartment, people who live in a self-contained apartment, people live in a one-bedroom apartment, some people stay in a flat with a lot of space, some people stay in an estate kind of setting. So all these things, you need to consider all these factors before you actually get the dog. So now number 4 is your space. Where do you stay? This is another thing you need to consider. So if you're someone that stays in a self-contained, for instance, then you have limited space. And what this means is the dog is either going to be staying indoors with you, or the dog will be living in your balcony or your veranda, whatever you call it. The dog will be living in that space. So the dog has a limited space for him or her. And if you're such person, you stay in a self-contained and you really want a dog, but because of space you can't keep the dog, or you feel you can't keep the dog, because I don't think space is an issue when it comes to getting a dog or keeping any breed. The only thing is you need to make out time now to walk that dog, to exercise that dog on a daily basis. Because if the dog don't have the time to exercise and the time to be active, then you are only trying to ruin that dog's life. And again, if you stay in such apartment, like a self-contained apartment, you might consider getting a small breed dog. So there are various type of toy breed out there which you can get if you know you won't be so active, or you won't be able to dedicate the time the dog needs to exercise when it comes to bigger dogs, because they really need to walk and exercise. So if you can be able to dedicate that time to exercise that dog, to walk the dog, you might consider getting a small breed. They are still dogs, okay? And If again your purpose for getting the dog is maybe for security reasons, or you want a personal protection dog or a guard dog, then again you can't get a small breed dog, because they can't really do that work for you the way they're actually supposed to do the work when it comes to being a personal protection or a guard dog breed. They were not bred for that purpose. So your only option might be to get a particular breed of dog that is in the walking line, or that is in the herding group and was actually bred to be a personal protection or guard dog. But again, remember what I said about walking the dog and exercising the dog. Then it's a must that you will exercise the dog, and you will dedicate the time needed to actually take that dog for a walk, so the dog also gets to move around and stay healthy. Some people live in estates, some people live in a neighborhood where they have other people around, and if you are such person and you want to get a dog, then you must consider the safety of the people around you. It is very important. I hear a lot of news most times where a person's dog attacks someone else living in the same neighborhood or living in the same estate, and this is mostly common with people that have personal protection and guard dog. So if you are watching this video and your reason for wanting a dog is as a security dog or for security purpose, and you want to get a personal protection or guard dog, you must get your dog from the right source. Get a dog that is trained to the extent where you can actually control this dog. And if you are going to raise this dog yourself and employ the service of a trainer, you also need to make sure that the person you want to employ his services to come and train this dog will put in the time and effort to train this dog, not only to be aggressive, but also train the dog to be able to recall that dog and to be able to control that dog, so the dog don't become so aggressive to the point where you can no longer manage the dog. So getting a personal protection dog or a guard dog, you must be able to control that dog, so you don't put other people's life in danger. So that's it for this video. Some of the things you need to consider before you get a dog. So just a quick recap. I mentioned 4 things. Number 1, I said you need to be able to care for that dog. That includes feeding the dog, providing good water for the dog, being able to treat the dog if for any reason the dog falls sick. So that is number 1, caring for the dog. Number 2, I said you need to be able to raise that dog right. This includes setting boundaries, rules and limitations in your home, training the dog on basic obedience if you can invest the money and time to do that, and also learning simply how to manage the dog within your home, so the dog will be able to have a good life and be able to live well with you within your home, and of course being able to exercise the dog and take the dog for daily walks. Now number 3, I said choosing the right breed, choosing the breed, which of course most people tend to do this first, but this is the 3rd thing you need to do. So choose the right breed. And I also talked about why you need to have a purpose in mind when you want to choose the right breed, and I also talked about why you need to match your personality with the dog's temperament. And then finally I talked about considering your space. Where are you going to live with this dog? Do you stay in a self-contained apartment? Do you stay in a 1-bedroom apartment, a house that is fenced? Do you stay in an estate, or do you stay in a neighborhood where you have people around? You need to consider these 4 things before you get a dog. So if you feel there is something I skipped in this video that I was supposed to talk about, drop a comment below and I will do well to answer you in the comment section. So that's it for today. This is TDA, the dog trainer for real life situation.